You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and entertainment, where relevant topics are discussed and where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, live on 660 The Answer.
John, it's Marvin, your cousin Marvin Berry. You know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this.
Welcome back to Perspectives Live, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we're exploring how you can put an end to common daily misunderstandings in your life by finding your peace and happiness and truly understanding your core self better by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people you spend the most time with. You know, a few nights ago, I was having dinner at a restaurant. I was seated outside, eating with Greg. We were under like this, canopy. And there was a table to the right of us, table to the left, one in front, one behind. So there's like all these smattering of tables. And this little girl walks in between kind of the aisle of tables. And she couldn't have been more than 6 years old, maybe 5.5, 6 years old. And she went to the first table and she asked something. And then when she came to me, she asked, could I spare some money? Could I give her some money? And so I obviously realized that she asked the same thing of the man at the other table. And I saw that man when she was asking him, and he kind of got angry, not with her, but just kind of angry in general. And when she came to me, I didn't have any money to give her. I didn't have any dollars or any change. But I also wasn't very happy with the situation. I didn't want to perpetuate it because the background situation is that her parents have put her up to the fact that she should be, that she's begging for money. So her parents aren't in the restaurant. They're hanging out somewhere else. That's to say that they actually are on the same street. That's to say that they actually are keeping an eye on their daughter. I can't say that either. But they're basically having their daughter go out and beg for money. And you remember, she's about 5.5, 6 years old. And so after she leaves, the man that she first asked the money from looks over to a table across from him and says, I can't believe, parents are allowing their kid to beg for money. And he said something else. And the people next to him just kind of started laughing. And he got a little angrier about the situation. You could see he got a little angry about the way that the other table was reacting to what he was talking about because it was genuine. It was a deep thought. And he kind of like slammed his fist on the table. And when he did that, his wine glass kind of like popped up and almost fell over. And he caught it in time. And you could tell these people were kind of laughing a little more at him. So not only did they not understand what he was talking about, they might not have even seen the girl, period. They might not have even seen her at all. On top of that, they think that this guy's kind of crazy, kind of a messy drunk. I mean, because he's almost dropping his wine glass. So him trying to communicate with other people about what he saw and how he felt was completely overlooked. And now they're kind of laughing at him. And I think the moral of the story is that people are usually in their own world. And what they see from a situation may not be at all what you saw. Even think about when police are in a crime and they're actually there and they're talking to the witnesses, or the police are talking to the witnesses of, let's say, an accident on the highway, and they ask, well, what did you see? Well, most of these people are going to say that they saw something completely different than what the other person saw. That's why, when you get people in court and juries, that's why it's so important for observation. And in this situation, the people that may have seen the situation wasn't the person that this person came to confide in. If he would have turned around to me and asked me what I thought about the situation, I would have had an earful for him. I would have communicated the same way and said, hey, I didn't want to perpetuate the situation by giving her any money because I don't want the parents to think that that's legitimate, that they can send their 5-year-old little daughter into a restaurant to beg for money. I think that's wrong. I think that's a big question of humanity. And then when the other guy was kind of laughing at him because he didn't know what he was talking about, it does make you question yourself. It makes you question humanity. And it makes you kind of feel bad. It makes you wonder, what's this world come to? You even feel more like you're isolated, more alone. And I've been there where you bring up a situation or you bring up a deep observation, and the person you tell it to or you bring it up to kind of laughs it off. And I don't think they're laughing at you. They're not laughing at you. They just have no freaking clue, what you're talking about. And life is filled with those miscommunications. And throughout these miscommunications, you have these glimpses of gold and all the beauty that make you feel alive and not alone in this world. And they're smattered throughout the days, the months, and the years. And a lot of times we can have that mundane, that same situation where people unnoticed, they're not noticing things, or they don't care. And you have to realize too that some people might not notice what you see, but other people might not care one bit about what's going on. I mean, some people in this world don't care at all about you. They don't care about anything else. They could cut you off in traffic. They could walk right in front of you as you're trying to back up right behind your car, paying no attention. They could hit your car with a grocery cart. They could hit your car with their car door. And I know, Bill, that happened to you the other day. You were sitting in the car, and you said that somebody actually dinged your car while you're sitting in it and doesn't say anything, and you're sitting in the car.
I'm sorry, Ashley, were you saying something?
Oh man. See what I'm saying? The loss for humanity. I'm already feeling sad about humanity as we speak.
No, I'm sorry.
Wah, wah.
But yeah, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I looked over at her, and she didn't even look at me. I was going,
and you're sitting in the car. You're sitting in the car, and she literally opens her car door into you, your car.
It's like, what is going through that brain of yours?
Nothing.
Yeah.
If you were to like say anything, and I'm sure you must not have said anything because you must have been like stressed out and knew that, you know, it would have only been a shouting match, or it would have been like the
and that, you hit it on the head. Of course, you know my temper.
Yes.
And you know the things that I do to not let it show, because I mean, I'm kind of a naturally a passive aggressive person anyway.
And a lot of people listening are the same way. And so, they, you know, and you would have just argued with them because they would have probably said, no, I didn't
Or
do that.
just started screaming and shouting and probably got the cops, you know, called on me and, you know, go to jail. And she wasn't, you know, worried about it. Or she wasn't worth going to jail over, so.
No, and she didn't even care at all. I mean, that's the thing that bugs you the most, though, is you're like, I'm right here. I mean, even just apologizing and saying, hey, I apologize for that. Sorry, you know, do you want to check the damage or whatever? That's one thing. But to just act like whatever.
Yeah, have some respect for other people's property.
And they don't even care. I mean, you're kind of in their way at that point in time.
But I think your larger point is also true. I think for whatever reason right now, society, people just don't. They're so inward focused that they don't notice what's going on around them.
And I wonder if this has been going on forever. You know, I wonder if everybody's always been like that. But with technology nowadays, I think it's just revved it up even more.
You know, with smartphones and tablets and, you know, the Google Glass and
TVs and cars. And you're already like raising the kids to have no observation, to be ADD all the time. You know, you have your TVs behind, you know, the driver's seat, behind the passenger seat, so that the kids in the back can always be entertained. And I understand that sometimes kids get on your nerves. They get on your everlasting nerve. But the idea of having them hold an iPad all day long, you know, go play with their iPad. I mean, it's really, we're bringing up people.
I mean, I might be dating myself a little bit, Ashley, but I managed to grow up without an iPad, believe it or not.
And you know, I did too.
And I still don't have an iPad. I have a smartphone. And I, you know, carry that sucker with me everywhere I go, even in places that I don't need it.
Even in the bathroom.
Yeah, even
Bill
in the
carries
bathroom.
His phone. You know how many people, at least 2 people a week actually call me and tell me, hey, sorry I couldn't get back in touch with you. I dropped my phone in the toilet. I mean, I hear that at least twice a week on random levels of people, you know, whether they are one level or another, whether they're a student or a CEO, somebody is dropping their phone in the toilet. I've even done it myself, where it was in my back pocket, and, you know, you pull the pants down and boom, goes right in.
There it goes.
I did not even go to the restroom at that point in time because I was freaking out so bad that I raced myself over to the Apple store, and I said, something happened to my phone, I don't know what happened. And because it looks brand new, they were like, well, what happened? And then they went in the back and they said, there was enough water in that phone. However, we're all addicted to these phones, but we got to really put some perspective on it. And I think miscommunication happens on a second-to-second basis. It's bam, bam, bam. And it happens due to our personal individual perception of life and what life is all about, because everybody has that different perception. Everybody has that different perspective. That's why we call this show Perspectives. So, funny observation. I think this is funny, and I think anybody else that's listening tonight, I think all our listeners can assume that this is pretty funny too, because they're probably dealing with it or have dealt with it in the last day or two. You see someone, like, let's say you become really angry at something. You get angry at what another person does, right? Let's say
that never happens to you, by the way.
Oh yeah. I'm working on my heart meter, and I'm working on my heart. There's a whole heart science formulation behind this, but I'm working to not get angry. But yes, my blood pressure still ticks up a little bit. Instead of staying green, it goes red. So yes, but you know how you get angry at something that somebody else does, and then maybe in the next day you do the same thing, and then you perpetuate the cycle because somebody else does it, and you know it keeps going on. Nobody's going to stop the buck here. Okay, because you have to actually be like Gandhi to stop the buck and be like, bam, I'm going to walk in this person's shoes for 5 minutes. I'm going to realize why they did this, and I'm going to go on and just wipe this clean. And so that's what I'm working on. But however, most people aren't doing that, and you have to work on it. You have to constantly work on it.
You have to be conscious. And
yes.
You know how I am. I've got ADHD, and I can observe what's going on and pay attention to what's going on around me, but I have to consciously do it.
See, you do. You have to, because ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder, or attention deficit disorder, it gets in the way sometimes of being able to observe things, being able to focus, the focus factor. Woo, focus. And that's what I was saying. In order to really understand this, it's like a circular movement. It's a circular movement of energy, of karma, and it's also a sense of humor. You have to have a sense of humor. You have to be able to look at your own stupidity and laugh about it as well. And, you know, we aren't going to eliminate misunderstandings globally tonight. We're just not going to do that. We would love to do that, but we're not going to take that all on. You know, but we are doing a lot to remove those misunderstandings from happening in your life by essentially realizing the habits that you choose, the choices that you make that add to the misunderstandings that take place. So when Perspectives returns, we're exploring the ways you can minimize the miscommunications in your life and how you can start living successfully with honest and sincere direction. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Hey, Rick, it's your cousin Marvin. Marvin, Ashley, you know that mediocre generic sound you've been looking for? Well, listen to this.
Welcome back here live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we've been exploring how to put an end to common daily misunderstandings in your life by finding your peace and happiness, really by truly understanding your core self and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people you spend the most time with. So let's start off with the whole concept of if you're an observer or not, because I think that being an observer, somebody that observes things, that sees their environment, that sees where they are, that understands where they are in a situation, in a room, if they're outside, if they're inside, who's around them, what's going on, what's taking place. Because let's get some backstory, because you know how Perspectives, you know how we love our backstory. You know, I'm a serious observer. I mean, I'm usually understand and see all my surroundings. I see people, I understand where they are, what they're doing. However, I'm usually surrounded by non-observant people who either thinks they are observant or who really don't care. And if you're a hyper-observant, you're hyper-observant like I am, and you like to discuss what you observe, you will want to spend time with other highly observant people. You know, if you don't care about discussing your observations, then you can do well with mostly anybody else. Because if you don't care about discussing your observations, that's fine. But if you do want to observe things and discuss it and ponder life's deep thoughts, you'll want to actually have like-minded people that want to also talk about your observations and to delve a little deeper in what you see. And I think all of us have dealt with that when we have friends and family and the people we spend time with that really don't want to hear it. They really don't care, or they're not observant, or they don't see it. They don't see it happening. They don't see it take place. And so you try to explain something and they have no idea what you're talking about, or they have no frame of reference. And I think that that's kind of appealing. And hey, what's up, Big Skinny? Glad to have you.
Speaking of observing things, look who just rolled in.
Well, hello, kids.
Well, what's up? How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. It's a beautiful day. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop, in the house. So what's going on? Are you having a good night this Saturday evening?
This Saturday's going very well. Very well. Beautiful evening, you know.
Goodness abounds. So we're talking about observing. We're talking about if you are an observer, if you're in a life observer, do you see things happen? Do you see things unfold? Are you a people watcher? Are you a surroundings watcher? And so I think the first thing that really makes somebody an observer is that you see things that others don't see. When you see the things that other people don't see at all, and you try to explain it to somebody, they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, when did that happen? Just now. That just happened. That just just happened right now, and people go, well, I didn't see anything. Where was
probably
that?
because their face was in their smartphone. You know, they were trying to post a selfie to Instagram or something.
Yeah, or they're in their brainwave somewhere.
Yeah.
Or they're like, I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea. And sometimes it can be right in front of people, and they have no clue what's going on. Like, absolutely no clue.
They were texting and walking, so, two things.
Oh, and they might have been chewing some gum, so they're out. They're out.
Completely.
And they're out. And that's the thing, is, do you see things that other people don't see? If you do, you're probably an observer. What about this? Do you pride yourself on being on top of things and knowing your surroundings? Do you pride yourself? 'Cause I personally pride myself. Like George Costanza prides himself in finding the best parking spot. I pride myself in surrounding and seeing my surroundings and seeing where I'm at and knowing who's behind me and who's in front of me and what's going on. And seeing the squirrel run across the street and seeing this and seeing that. And look, the grass grew a little bit and my neighbor's out there doing something crazy. Yes, I pride myself in observations, and I pride myself in knowing what that means, because you can deduct a lot of things and deduce a lot of things from life by seeing what you see.
And that's kind of tough for me to do sometimes, Ashley, because I have, like I said in the last segment, I have ADHD. And,
oh, yeah.
So
if people don't know, that's attention deficit hyperdisorder.
Yeah, and in my case, it just means that I'll be doing what I'm doing, and just all of a sudden I'll start daydreaming.
You will?
And just at random, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. And so minutes can go by.
Bill does that a lot of times in the studio.
I do. And I have to force myself to pay attention.
I'm going to start taking pictures when he's daydreaming, because you get that glossed over look.
I do.
He gets the eyes like glossy, and you kind of like, Bill?
Hello.
Bill, are you okay, Bill? Is there a pulse?
Hello.
Earth to Bill.
Yeah.
Earth to Bill.
That's exactly
Earth
right.
to Bill? We're in a control tower saying Earth to Bill. Bill, are you there?
Houston, we have a problem.
Bill, are you there? Are you there? Oh my God, Bill, please answer us. We want to make sure you're okay. No, it's important, because a lot of us do have those types of things. We do have attention deficit issues. We have focus issues. And it's being overly, we have over issues with it because of our technology. What about when you are observant and you observe other things? Sometimes you can actually save someone's life. You can save your own life. You can save someone else's life. And I know the other day, Skinny and I were talking about something that happened a long time ago. What was that about? There was a train tracks, and I remember you were talking about a squirrel. What was that?
Yeah, it was one morning. I was on my way to school and had my music up in my 1989 Camaro. I'm cruising along. All of a sudden, the squirrel just darts out in front of me, slammed on the brakes. 2 seconds later, a train.
Right in front of you.
So if you hadn't stopped, then you would not be here, literally. I mean,
My middle name would be T-Bone.
you would be, the splatter on the train windshield.
Oh.
Wow. That's...
And he's really skinny, guys.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't know what the splatter would have been. Oh, Skinny, I'm glad you're with us. See, observation. Seeing that squirrel saved your life. That squirrel's probably not alive right now.
You think it was supernatural that something sent that squirrel in your way?
Oh, it had to have been. I mean, I went down that road several mornings a week.
Wow.
And just for some reason, I always tried to bob and weave the dogs and cats and squirrels, but this one I hit the brakes and literally was 2 feet from the tracks.
Wow. See? That is absolutely awesome. So I think also you observe the world around you. I mean, you can observe the world around you. You see things for what it is. And you see the choices you can make, because you're ahead of the game. You're 5 steps ahead. And so when you're observant and you're saving other people's lives, I've saved people's lives before with my observations. I've saved my own life with my observation, and it's not been once, it's been several times. And those things really count for something, because it really puts everything in perspective, because you can die if you're not observant enough. And also, you miss out on a lot of things. Like, you would miss out on what's going on. I seem to find myself in all kinds of situations, and people don't even realize it. I'll be hanging out and I realize I'm with Secret Service. And you realize the president's right here. Or you're here and you're there, and you're here, Beyonce's right here, right next to you. But people don't even see it, because these people aren't wanting to be out there. They don't want everybody to see them. You gotta actually observe and see a situation take place. Like the other day I was driving by and I saw 3 different people with drug sniffing type dogs, and they were doing a security checkpoint around an entire perimeter of an area. Now, there's only certain people that they do that for, okay? And so, when you start realizing things around you and you start seeing what observing something means, you get to see kind of what's going on, and it kind of puts you in the driver's seat. And I think that's kind of fun, because otherwise you can feel like the victim, like this happened to me or something bad happened to me. It's like choosing wisely. I mean, as a girl, my dad always brought me up to be really like thoughtful when it comes to the choices you make and by the surroundings and by who you choose to be around. I mean, even whether it's getting into a cab, whether it's standing on a certain street, whether whoever it's with. And I remember some of my other friends that were really kind of, well, I don't know, borderline criminals, where they always used to say, watch who you're standing next to.
You used to roll with the interesting crowd, huh?
Oh, yes.
Guilty by association.
Oh, and they'd be like, watch who you stand next to in a crowd. Watch who's standing next to you because it could be the last person you ever stand next to.
Well, that's good advice for anybody, though.
It's true.
I mean, maybe especially for, your daughters or whatever, because, you want to protect them and all that good stuff. But I think everybody ought to be aware of where they are and their surroundings.
That's so true. You have to be aware of where you are, what's going on around you at all times. And it's important. But if you aren't an observer, that's fine. I mean, you can live your life. You're fine. But I think when you are an observant person and you're hyper observant, it's just one of those things is that you like to talk with other people about your observations, because it's hard to sit there and see like, oh, you just saw the president or whatever like that. And I'm not saying one way or another. I am not a Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm not denouncing some sort of political ideology on this show right now. However, when you see these people and you see them in situations, it's kind of nice to look to the person next to you and be like, hey, that's pretty cool. I wonder what's going on. Da, da, da. But when you have somebody next to you going, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
And you were just standing there. It's like, are you on this planet? Where have you been the past 5 minutes? Yeah,
we're within 5 feet of each other. I mean, come on, what's going on here? I mean, I know you didn't get shipped off of another planet at this point, but we'll find that out later. And so later on we get into more about what makes you an observer, why observers like to discuss things with other observers, because it makes you feel more connected. And we're going to talk more about that later on, as well as we're going to talk about how when you're a deep person and you discuss deep issues, you want to be around people that actually want to hear it. That's important too. So stay tuned, because when Perspectives returns, we're continuing our exploration on authentic ways you can minimize the miscommunications in your life and start living successfully with pure, honest direction. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 660 The Answer.
Dong. Dong.
Dong, Grandpa is talking to you.
Dong. Where is my automobile?
Automobile?
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And if you're just tuning in on tonight's show, we've been exploring how to put an end to common daily misunderstandings in your life by finding your inner peace and happiness, by truly understanding your core self, and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people you spend the most time with here on Mother Earth. We've been talking earlier about how observant you are. Are you an observer? Do you observe things? And, a little bit of backstory I was given earlier is that I'm a hyper-observant person. I see everything. That's something that I pride myself on. I pride myself on being a hyper-awesome observer. That's something I love. And I love to talk about my observations with other people. That's just what, we like to do. When you're a hyper-observer, you like to talk about those things that you observe, and you like to, mesh with people and get deep about conversation and philosophize and all that stuff about what the life and the world is about. And I think that's awesome. And a lot of people, they don't feel that way. They don't really observe things, or other people might observe things, but they don't really want to conversate about them. They don't really want to pontificate about them. And I get it. That's totally cool. But if you are an observer, and if you're somebody that likes to talk about deep discussions and likes to really get into the reasons of life and why we're here and what's the meaning of life and what's your philosophy on this and how do you feel about this and that, you're going to want to find other people that, one, like to talk about that, but two, like to be involved with it. If you're around other people that have no want or desire to talk about things like that, then you've probably missed the boat. So if you're a deep person, you like to go deep on conversations, you're going to have other people that do the same. It's just plain, easy, simple to understand. If you feel sincerely deep about certain things when you want to share with others, and if they're not deep, you're just going to suffer the consequences because they're not going to want to do it. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to eventually begrudge these people because you're associating with people that don't want to think like you, don't want to talk about those things. And so let's talk about the thinking person. You know, if you're a deep feeling and thinking person, you know, you kind of think about things in a depth. You have a depth to your situation. You see things in a more depth-filled world, and I think that's important. Like, you don't see things surfacely. You don't just make judgments and assumptions. You actually look at something and consciously analyze why something was done or why somebody said something or did something, and I think that, to me, is fortuitous.
I could definitely agree with you on that. I mean, sometimes you just have to, you know, kind of go with the flow. I mean, you learn new stuff every day, but, you know, I like to soak stuff up. I like to hang around with people that I can learn.
Well, so in that case, then does it frustrate you to be around people who like to have the attention span of like a sand flea or something? You know, and
I'm pretty flexible. I mean, I can deal with both genres. I mean,
yeah, but I think actually it isn't. I don't think. I mean, or maybe to a certain extent, but I think you get frustrated with people who are like, you know, get bored easily.
Yeah, I mean, I do, and honestly, that's true. I kind of get a little overwhelmed or underwhelmed, I guess is the right word, underwhelmed by it because I can only deal with it for so long. I mean, if I'm sitting in a bar with some people and we're talking about whatever, that's fine. But if I'm actually hanging out with this person like old school, like chilling, spending a lot of time with them, I think that that's something that's really important that you have. I mean, I think that you need to have a certain level of conversation and communication. And if you don't have that, to me, it's like you're missing on something. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing in life is they feel like they don't have anybody to talk with. And I get what you're saying, Skinny. I understand the fact that a lot of times, you know, you can communicate with various people on various levels, but I think that if you are a real deep thinker to a certain degree, you have to actually go find that. I mean, I think that your outlet would be to communicate with someone else to feel like you're around other like-minded people to some degree, that, you know, you're not the only one on Mother Earth thinking about, you know, whatever it is that you're thinking about, you know, and I think that that's kind of important because if you're really trying to delve into the Earth's mysteries and the world's mysteries and the universe's mysteries and how we all do this, I mean, it's hard to try to figure out who to speak with. And I think sometimes you get lost in the shuffle because people, maybe they're just not interested in your depth, or maybe they're not interested in what you have to talk about.
Well, also, too, what about from the perspective of just the opposite, of someone who isn't into in-depth conversations about anything and doesn't want to talk about pretty much anything else and gets frustrated with people who do? Like, you know, for example, if only thing I feel like talking about is Dancing with the Stars.
Well, then that's great. I mean, if you can find other people that talk about Dancing with the Stars, it's awesome. And there are people that want to hear about it. That's awesome, but yeah, I think that you have to like know your audience, find the audience that you think is great. I mean, this show is not meant to be a show about the Kardashians, and this show is not supposed to be talking about Jenner and is he getting his sex change and why he's doing it, what the thoughts are. And I'm not going to be here to bash the family. I'm also not going to hear and triumph everything that they're doing as well. And so this show is not one of those cookie cutter shows that people can just, oh, well, let's talk about what these people are doing, or you know, Kanye West and what he's doing, and I don't know, I think so and so got caught for shoplifting, and and all these little issues. And so it's kind of like, what is going on? And this show is not based on that. This show is totally about different types of things. So basically what I'm saying is if you're looking for a gossip show, I guess this would not be it. I mean, if you're looking for a heavy political show, I guess that wouldn't be it either. It's almost like knowing your audience as well. It's like when you are with people, no matter if they're family or friends, it's still kind of a listening audience or a talking audience. And for that matter, you need to kind of surmise, are these people that I can actually be myself around possibly? Because I think sometimes it's about being yourself. I mean, because we've all been around people that we can talk. If we're deep people, we can be kind of shallow. And we've all been around people that, you know, you have to do the opposite with as well. So it's about being people that you can actually be yourself and enjoy being yourself instead of getting that whole look of, I'm not interested, or not wanting to go there because you never know how somebody's going to appreciate it or accept it. And I think that's important.
I can definitely agree. I mean, like, you know, for instance, you know, hanging out with you and Bill, I mean, I love y'all's knowledge, what y'all talk about. And like you say, the show's just not your normal gossip show. It's not any other. It's a very unique show. And I think it, you know, goes out to a great spectrum of people that, you know, actually appreciate the message you're giving.
Hey, you rock.
Yeah.
I like that. That was a nice compliment. If anybody heard the other show a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about compliments and insults and how you take them is very important. If you did miss that show, you can go back to our iTunes and listen to it on iTunes. You can hear all the perspectives with Ashley Burgess' shows on iTunes with Billy and Big Skinny and all of our other guests that we usually have on, which is always very good. So let's get back to our subject matter. What about like on the spiritual side of things? Okay, so when you're a deep feeler, a lot of times you have these conscious thoughts about, how you got here, right? Whether it's God or what you call it, if it's God, if it's this, it's that, you have these conversations, you have these thoughts about why you're here, who you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to be doing, what your path is, what's your journey. And so in that case, when you're thinking that deeply about the next level, it's nice to be able to talk with other people that maybe feel the same or that are interested in listening to you instead of like, what the heck are you talking about? I mean, making you look like a fool. You know what I mean? I mean, the people that make you look like a fool, that's no fun when you're sitting there going, I had this kind of Jesus conversation and I figured it all out. I know my whole path and I really realized what I'm supposed to do in life. And this is so amazing. And oh my gosh, this is so great. And instead of me saying, hey, that's so awesome, I'm really happy for you. Instead of that, I'm like, what in the heck are you talking about? You're a freak.
And what about from the opposite end of that spectrum, Ashley? Because, philosophical stuff, I have to admit, I'm just not terribly interested in. Yeah. And so when I'm, stuck speaking with somebody about that.
He's talking about me, by the way.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, the listeners couldn't see me pointing towards you, but,
We're just calling a spade a spade. That's all we're doing here.
But anyway, when someone is talking to me about that, I'm just like, okay, how do I get out of this conversation? And I just completely zone out on him.
That's when he glazes over, eyes glaze over, and he looks at me and he goes, I don't want to talk about Nietzsche. I don't want to talk about the fellow ignorance principle, Ashley. I really don't want to talk about how, or
quantum physics.
Yeah, or, any of that, and I get it. I get it. I get you don't want to talk about the social contracts. I understand that. I mean, Locke, Rousseau, and Hobbes is not your favorite. I get it. But no, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody and they don't have anything to say that you're interested in, it can be kind of unruly as well. You're like, God, I wish this person could find a friend.
It's like, I mean, you've been to lots of parties, and maybe you have too, Skinny. I mean, haven't you ever been stuck in a conversation with somebody and they're talking about what you think is the most inane, boring subject of all time, but you can't get away?
Yes, but I always find someone else an escape route. And I'm always one of those people who quickly to say, let me get you a drink. Let me go do something. Because you can do something for somebody and it takes you right out of the game.
So maybe here's a suggestion. When you're sending out party invitations, maybe have like a little questionnaire at the bottom. And you can check what subjects that you appeal to. And that way you can kind of sit people at the tables.
Very interesting. I went to a birthday party one time. And we're going to segue real quick. And I remember in the birthday party, it was like two-pronged. Like you go eat dinner at this restaurant, and then you go back to their house. They're having drinks, and they handed out like a 15-page paper like to everybody. And it was a sex survey. Anyway, that was interesting. I ended up leaving the party early because I realized that I was in a group of non-like-minded people. However, they were very like-minded and they continued to party, but I left early and drove all the way home. We won't get any more into that because this is a family show. When Perspectives returns, we are continuing our exploration on authentic ways you can minimize miscommunications of your life and start living successfully and with honest direction. So stay tuned because Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back in 2 shakes.
I could lift you up. I could show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here. Give us your perspective. We're listening. And you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we've been exploring how to put an end to common daily misunderstandings in your life by finding your peace and happiness, by truly understanding your core self, and by making healthy and rational decisions and choices when it comes to the people that you spent the most time with. So let's talk about this. We were talking earlier about being an observer and how to know if you're a real good quality observer or not so much. And if you are an observer, if you like to tell other people about what you observe and kind of relish from that and feel more bonded to the rest of society when other people see what you see and feel the same or have kind of a comment or something to share about it, which is really cool because then you go, wow, we're all living in a civil society based around civil people and we all do this and this is really cool. On the flip side, we've been talking about being deep and how you can be a deep thinker. And if you're a deep thinker and you analyze a lot of things, you like to sometimes talk with other deep thinkers that can either, kind of push your ideas or push your thought process so you actually have more mental stimuli and get to hear things. Because the whole concept of, let's talk about intelligence. And I think everybody knows this. If you want to be if you're a very intelligent person, the smartest thing you can do is hang out with people that are smarter than you. Okay? That's just common knowledge. A lot of people have that twisted, though. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm very intelligent, so I want to be the most intelligent in the room. And you see a lot of women deal with this, and they deal with it with looks. So when they go out with other women, they find women that pale in comparison to their looks so that they always look the best. However, if they actually clung with a whole group of very attractive, maybe even prettier women than them, they would actually rise to the occasion. So that's kind of like how we're talking tonight, right? So if you're around a bunch of deep people, find some of the deepest, most conscious, most intelligent people that can push you to think deeper, to think better, to think clearer. And I understand that a lot of people don't always get off on the whole UFO thing. I understand that. And I know that Bill is not into the paranormal at all,
Who have you got in mind there, Ashley?
See, Bill is not a big Coast to Coast fan. I'm a huge Coast to Coast fan. Now, some of the things that Nori and all of them talk about, not so much. But I do like to talk about the paranormal because I know and I believe wholeheartedly that we are not living here on our own. I do think that there are obviously other places and people and things because, we would have to be the only civilization and that, the universe was only made, we only have one group here and one Earth and this is it.
Now, wait a minute, Ashley. Let me clarify my perspective on that. It's not that I don't believe there's other intelligent life out there.
That's good.
I do believe it. It's just that they're smart enough not to have anything to do with us.
Well,
they stay as far away from this planet as possible, which means that they're higher intelligence.
Oh, I could see why you think that. See, but at least you go that far and think that. Some people don't want to even think the fact that there is anybody else around because they think that us humans are the only thing. We're the pinnacle form. All animals are below us, and we are the best. And woohoo, USA. And I get it. I understand that. But it's hard to think that way when you know that there's got to be a bigger picture.
I think there's definitely stuff out there. There's been signs, so many videos, pictures or whatnot. Some could be Photoshop, some not.
What do you mean some? Let's try almost all.
I believe
there
is people out there.
Other beings other people.
There.
Yeah, yes. You agree, right?
Without a doubt.
And I agree. You have to figure that there has to be. But okay, so this is a good example of this conversation. So us three are talking about, paranormal, right? Now, there's going to be somebody else that, doesn't want to hear anything. And then there's going to be somebody else that's going to refute everything we say and say, y'all don't even watch anything, you don't know anything. There's 109 different other civilizations, and we're at the least of the food chain, and da-da-da-da-da, and we're below these people, and there's there's these people, and there's these people, and then there's going to be somebody that's going to be like, there is no one else. And I don't want to be in this conversation because this freaks me out.
Notice how our phone is lighting up right now.
It is. It's like going crazy. Oh, my gosh. And people are going crazy. And I know we can't take any calls right now. And I apologize because I know that this is a big deal. We will do a full show based on this because I think that this is required. I think that this is a very interesting standpoint because we don't always have to agree that certain aliens come from certain planets or certain other beings. Because I think aliens mean that... it's kind of like, when I think of alien, though, I always think about, illegal alien. That's what my first thought is. You think of the illegal alien, and they're not illegal, and, they just come from a different place. But we'll have a whole show on this.
Unless you watch Men in Black, and then,
love those movies.
Illegal alien really does mean they're here on planet Earth, without authorization, so.
Yeah, without their green card. Or their multi-magenta blue and black card. I don't know.
They didn't have their moon card with them.
Right.
The moon card. And, not the pot card, the moon card.
And Jane K will blow one of their heads off and then they grow another one back, see?
I love it. Oh my gosh, you saw it.
That's actually a movie that I saw.
Bill saw a movie.
I did.
Yay!
Yes.
We're so happy for Bill because Bill has opened his mind to see this movie, and that's one of our favorite movies. At least it's one of my favorite movies. I speak for you too, Skins. But anyway, it is one of my favorite movies because I like it because it actually opens your mind. And I think there is one scene in Men in Black where at the very end they have these lockers set up, and I think it might have been in the third one. And he opens up the locker and he sees all these different worlds.
It is in the third one, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And then there's another one, I think it might have been the first one, where there's something a different alien being that's playing, it's got marbles, and the marbles are actually universes, and they're throwing them out. And it really does put in perspective where we are. And I'm not going to say I agree that these particular aliens are real or anything like that, but I do have thought processes on that. And when you do hang out with somebody that literally shuts you down, like shuts you down.
Like la 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 la.
Yeah, where they're like, I don't want to, I mean, they close the garage door on you. Okay, like that. Like, bam. Yeah, and you're like, oh, they're like, I don't want to hear it. I don't believe in any of it. I think it's all crap. And
Like, can you actually see it in their face? It's like...
And they get mad, too. Some people can get mad. Like, don't be bringing that to me. I mean, and I get it. I mean, like, when people bring you negativity, I'm not a negative person. And when people bring you negativity, like, did you know so-and-so got shot yesterday? Or did you hear the news about those kids that got kidnapped? Or what about those kids that were murdered? I don't like to hear that. That's not something I like to hear. I don't relish in that. I don't get off on that anyway. It makes me just burdened and sad because I'm a good person with a lot of depth and heart and soul. And I think in that case too, I mean, think about the people that you know that really get off on the negative. Because that's another thing too. It's about finding people that are similar to yourself. And if you're surrounded by a lot of people that literally watch the news all day and get so down, did you see that place that got bombed today? All those people died.
See,
you know?
I'm like that. See, I'm a news junkie.
See, and I can't stand listening to that because, I mean, I know people are dying left and right. I mean, this world is about war, right? War is a big deal. It's a moneymaker, and war also creates power. And so the more war somebody can make and the more warmongering we have, the better it seems to be. But however, that depresses me. It makes me sad. It's like that song Happy when he goes, don't be coming over here talking about this and that, you know? And the this and the that is the negative. But see, you don't really go around talking like that, though, Bill. You don't go around telling everybody about the negative stuff. I don't hear you talk about that. You must keep that inside, because I don't hear you talk about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly keep it to myself, or I might say it to one or two, really trusted friends.
But you know who to talk to about it, because they get off on it, too, because they're like, I saw that on the news, Bill. I couldn't believe it either, man.
Or at least they're willing to put up with it, because they know me.
Yeah, but
they'll take one for the team.
Yeah,
but I think most time people they have to resonate with it because I think otherwise they're not being honest, and I think over a period of time you'll know it. But I think most time people do resonate with that, and I'm totally cool with people that are up to date in current events because I am current and I am up to my events and I know what's going on. At least what we're fed, I do understand that. However, I do feel that sometimes I don't want to hear it all. I mean, because it depresses me. Like I'll even go on Facebook sometime and just putting one little thing up, like a friend's birthday. I'll say happy birthday. And the next thing you know, you start reading stuff and you go, oh my gosh, those poor dogs and those people in Somalia and everything. And you're like, and you haven't even gotten out of bed. It's 7 a.m. and you're about to get out of bed. You're like, oh, the day is shot. I'm done. I mean, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, and that's the thing is that I'm trying to keep my mind on the prize. I'm trying to be happy because I think that the thing about life is that the more positive thoughts you have, the happier you are. And I think that's really honest. Because think about the last time, if you're not happy now, and for all our listeners, if you're not happy now for some reason, think about the last time you were happy and realize that a lot of it was just because you were telling yourself positive thoughts.
That's so true. I mean, I can totally agree with that. There's always going to be ups and downs, but, just stay positive and go with the flow. Just smile and, good things will happen.
And if you believe that they'll happen, that's the thing. And so I think that when you're a deep thinker sometimes, or you're really observant, sometimes maybe you see all the other things going on and it can be overwhelming. Like with Bill, he's always watching the news and he's ADD, ADHD. And everybody that's out there that feels like they have ADD or ADHD or have been diagnosed, you see a lot more than most people see. And you actually intake a lot of stimuli at the same time. And so you're internalizing a lot of things. And so it's really good to have an outlet for you could talk with. And if you don't have an outlet, you can feel like you're just like, you're like in a cage. You can feel like it's like you feel like you're in a prison of your own because nobody understands you. And I think that there's a far more greater amount of people that do understand you. You just got to find the people that do. And that's key. So anyway, when we come back, we're going to start talking a little bit more about the idea of feeling like a victim, because you can start feeling like a victim when you don't find the right people to spend time with. Also, we're going to talk about more about how you can really end miscommunication in your life and finding who your self is, who your core self is, and understanding how to make healthy and rational decisions that'll make your life a lot healthier and happier. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and entertainment, where relevant topics are discussed and where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, live on 660 The Answer.
5'3", 112 pounds, black hair, glasses, oval face.
Welcome back here live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And if you're just tuning in, we've been exploring how to put an end to the common daily misunderstandings in our life by finding your inner peace and happiness, by truly understanding your core self, and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people you spend the most time with. I think this is interesting, to understand your core self. How do I do that?
I was going to say, people have written books about that. I mean, you've written books about that.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
It's like,
How do you do it? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we can think we know ourselves, but how do we know ourselves? I mean, sometimes we think other people know ourselves better than we know ourselves. And sometimes you have to sit there and introspectively look and say, who am I? Who am I? So, Bill, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you have to go, who am I? Okay, what do I like, and who am I, and what interests you? So let's talk about you. Let's do some introspection on
I was going
Billy.
to say, now, you know I don't get existential like this. So.
I know. We're going to push the envelope. And the winner of the winner of the Academy Award is...
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's better than Emmy, right? I mean, I do sing well in the shower. I don't know, Bill, how do you sing in the shower?
I sing about as good in the shower as I sing normally, which is not very good.
Which is... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. First off, because Skinny, you're on the hot deck here in a second. Okay, the hot seat, the hot deck, whatever you want to call it. First off,
he's in the on deck circle.
He's on deck. He's there. He's better swing. So there you go. So who are you, Bill? If you were going to define yourself in a nutshell, how would you define yourself?
Oh, good grief.
I know I throw this at him at the last minute. Everybody loves this. Now, I'm going to do some commentary, like the Jeopardy. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, time.
I don't even know where to start, Ashley.
Okay,
I don't know where to start.
Okay, what interests you?
Sports, especially football.
Okay, football, sports. Okay, we got that.
Nonfiction history.
Oh, I love history. History's good. History's good.
Like ESPN and History Channel and Animal Planet are like my favorite stations.
I like those two
on TV.
Okay, those are good. Those are good.
So.
Okay, so what excites you? I mean, so you know what interests you. I know that history is probably not exciting you, but what excites you?
What excites me? Let's see, being around family and friends, and I don't have a very big circle of family and friends, and I prefer it that way.
Okay.
Because it's.
Why do you prefer it that way?
Well, because the less people that I can take the time to really get to know and really get to know me.
Oh, okay.
It's I don't have to expend as much energy.
I respect. I respect the fact that you kind of want to have deep conversations, and you also want to have you want to have real relationships. You want to cultivate the relationships. So you don't want to have a lot of just kind of random.
It's like the people who have like 1,000 Facebook friends. They're not your friends. Nobody has 1,000 friends. They have 1,000 acquaintances.
True.
But
it depends on how you define friend. Yeah. If you define friend like I see them once a week, or
not even that.
Yeah, but I mean, acquaintance could be, I might talk on the phone randomly, or so how do you define friend?
I define friend as literally someone who would, give their life up for you. If it came down to that.
Wow.
Which obviously I don't have very many friends like that.
So basically, take a bullet for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were basically running and something was happening and a bullet and somebody shot off, they would jump in front of you. Basically, that's what you consider a friend.
Yeah.
Which I respect that. So basically, a friend would be there in any sort of time of need.
It's kind of an old joke I heard that, a friend is someone who'll bail you out of jail. A true friend is someone who's there in the jail cell with you.
Ooh, that's true.
I like that.
I like that.
Billy boy, I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's true though.
Which later on, I've got a story about a jail cell in Juarez, that I'll tell you about. But
I can't wait to hear this.
That'll be later.
We don't want to hear about the
Jail
soap.
cell Juarez and Skinny Big Skinny quit smoking. We'll talk about that too. Okay, so jail cell Juarez. I love that. We're gonna get back to that because I'm kind of gonna cliffhang that one. Because everybody knows Bill. Bill's not crazy. I mean, like he's not one of those people that literally you go, oh, he's up to something now. Bill's got his head on his shoulders, and so for him to be talking about Juarez, this could be quite interesting. What angers you?
What angers me? Betrayal.
Okay, somebody lying to you.
Somebody lying to me. Somebody who takes something I tell them in confidence and says it to someone else.
Yeah.
Someone who makes a promise and doesn't come through.
I agree.
Someone who hurts somebody that I love. And not necessarily physically.
It could be mental, emotional.
Right. Injustice.
I feel the same way.
Angers me.
Yeah, because I'm very existential and conscious of the fact that takes a deep thinker when you see somebody else get hurt, and it's not about you, but yet you still feel anger or remorse for that person because you feel bad because you also realize that it doesn't have to be about you, but in the end it really is all about everybody. I mean, because nobody's really divided at all. I mean, we're all really one. We're all really connected.
Unless you're a hermit living in a cave somewhere, we interact with other people at least to a certain extent.
It's a society, George. We live in society. No, yeah, honestly, I agree with you. I mean, if you're going to live in society, you're going to be you're going to be a loving, conscious individual that cares about other people around you. You're going to be angry. You're going to get hurt when somebody else gets hurt. When somebody else gets hurt because of somebody else's words or actions.
Right. That's exactly it. And and also injustice in general.
Yeah. Overall, like war.
Overall. Yeah. I mean
when people don't like somebody because of their color, because somebody's black and they're going to be racist against that, or
right.
If they're and that's wrong. And we've seen that recently in a lot of things in the news as well.
Sure.
And you would think that we were past all that, and it's sad that we're not. Apparently on certain levels, but I think for the most part, the majority of the people in the world, I would hope, are over that.
Well, I would hope so, but
it is what it is.
We're not done evolving yet. But I would say, lastly, something that would anger me, just rude, inconsiderate people. I mean, think about somebody else. The effect that you're having on other people.
I agree.
It's like when you run into somebody and you're like, "Oh, excuse me, let me get out of your way."
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the people who take the attitude of, why don't you watch where I'm going?
Or they honk at you and then shoot you the bird after they cut you off.
Right.
I love that. It's like, you just shot me the bird, dude, and you cut me off. Anyway, I have a lot of other words I could say.
Beep.
And I try not to get my heart rate that level that high. Because, I used to be, when I was a kid, if somebody did that, I would tailgate them and follow them and then try to get them to pull over, and then I would jump out and then road rage on them. However, I've realized that, in the last 10 years that it's good to be alive, and it's good not to take it so personally. However, it does hurt when somebody does it and you're like, you just did this to me and it's really your fault. But then I realized if you step in someone's shoes for 1 minute and then you just realize, who knows what's going on, let it go.
Another reason to take the train, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, okay, little backstory. Billy Boy's a big train taker. He likes the train. He takes the train, which I respect. I mean, he lives really far away from the studio. You have to understand. So, anybody that's listening here, so if you live in Seattle, you have to understand that basically, like, Billy Boy has to drive almost an hour outside of Seattle, outside of Dallas, about in Denton. There's a place called Denton, and that's where University of North Texas is, and that's where Bill resides. That's where some people say that's where he stays. That's where he stays at, and that's cool. And I like that, but he likes to take the public transportation, which is working. And I would do the same if I lived that far. I think I would too. So he doesn't have to deal with it. You do have to deal with the panhandlers and stuff on the train.
But that only happens late at night.
It's only a late at night thing. So it's not an early morning thing.
After 10 o'clock, so therefore he brings his mace.
Yeah, or or something that I can defend myself
Is it
with.
a pink mace with the breast cancer awareness thing on it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a ping pong paddle.
Oh, I
Okay.
love ping
He'll swat 'em.
pong.
He'll
Now-
swat
I
'em.
want to play some ping pong.
Now there's something that we'll go into during the break.
So when we come back, I want to actually sum up Big Skinny on this. I want to talk about, who he is, what interests him, and what excites him, what angers him. Also, we're going to get into the Juarez story. So Bill is not off the hook yet. We're also going to talk about Big Skinny. Last week, if you all were listening, he actually gave up smoking. And so he has given up smoking and doing the e-cigarette at this point. We're going to talk with that and see where he is with that. So don't forget that. As well as we're going to also talk more about how to minimize those miscommunications in your life and how to successfully drive yourself to an honest direction and find yourself and actually, find and understand yourself a little bit more and get to know who you are. So stay tuned because Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back to Perspectives. I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we've been exploring how to put an end to common daily misunderstandings that we all have in our own life and finding that peace and happiness by truly understanding your core self and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people that you spend the most time with. Earlier, we were talking about if you were an observer or not. How observant are you as a person? We were also talking about how deep of a person you are. If you're a deep thinking individual, you like to hang out with other deep thinking individuals, you like to talk about your thoughts, your conscious living, that kind of sort of thing, and you like to experience life through that way. And so a lot of times if we're not hanging out with other people that are deep, it becomes a problem for us because we have no outlet to talk with. Right back earlier, we were talking with Bill, and Bill was actually giving us an explanation of what interests him, what excites him, what angers him, and who he is, because I think you have to define yourself, your core self. You have to define yourself to understand what will make you healthy, what makes you happy, and what rational decisions you need to make in life. Because if you don't make those decisions, you're going to be centered around people that don't get you. You're going to be constantly being misunderstood, and you're going to be making bad choices of the people that you spend time with. It's just essential to understand who you honestly are. Nobody should get you or understand you more than yourself, okay? When we come back later on, we're going to talk about how Billy Boy ended up in jail in Mexico, because I'm very interested in that. Oh, yes, we are. Oh, yes, we are.
Mom, you can turn off the radio now.
Oh, she already has, because you know what? She knows what's up, because we're going to talk about this, because anything about Juarez is interesting here on Perspectives. So let's talk to Big Skinny. Big Skinny, what's going on tonight?
Hello, hello, hello.
In the house.
I want to know what angers him because I can't imagine him ever being angry about anything.
Oh, interesting. I can imagine him being angry because it's his disposition seems to hide it most of the time. But yeah, and those can be the people that get the most angry, the most raged. Anyway, who are you? If you could talk about your core self, let's start with this because maybe this makes it easier. What interests you?
What interests me? I mean, I love socializing. I like meeting new people. I just enjoy life in general. I mean, I was in a very small shell growing up, learned a lot as I, got on the road. As I turned 30, that's when I kind of, like I said, I kind of blossomed, coast to coast. I literally had to grow up. I still consider myself a 35-year-old, 25-year-old, and my looks can, attest that. But
oh, well, okay then.
But ching. But I've got a birthday coming up, 36, which I'm really excited for. I've got a lot of friends coming out, some family. Hopefully my co-host will be there with me that night. And, we'll just, have a good time. But what interests me is learning, life, and, like you said, knowledge.
Okay, so that interests you. Life and knowledge. Expound on the word life.
Life just I stopped worrying about certain things, blocking out a lot of the negative people, a lot of the negative things.
Block bad, bring good. Block bad, bring good.
Love that movie.
All circular.
And then going to the knowledge, it's just, I learned a lot growing up. I wouldn't say I learned a lot. I learned some things growing up, but, every day is a new life lesson. And, I appreciate, my friends that have, completed college and gone on and, graduate school and everything. And, I just like to just listen to some of the stories. And I've got a few stories myself.
So what really excites you? So we know what interests you, but what really is exciting? Like, it makes you like a kid in a candy store again.
A kid in a candy store. I would say I love sporting events. I love concerts. One of my true passions is golf. That's one of the things.
Back nine.
The back nine was skinny. But I would say...
The back nine at 9.
Okay, Ashley, don't go there.
I love that.
I just, I'm interested in, learning. I love, kind of like y'all, I love history. I love historical buildings. I love the preservation of them. I know how to work on preservation of buildings. And just, putting a smile on somebody's face. That interests me.
Okay.
That's cool. I mean, I like quartz crystals, but you don't see me like showing somebody my whole collection. I mean, until I know. But no, I get what you're saying. I mean, the point is that you have these things that you like. You have these things that excite you. So before I kind of flip that whole deal, what angers you the most?
Shady people. People that try to put others down to get ahead, or, badmouth others, or get by because of some legality that, hey, they committed murder, but, this law, protects them.
So what angers you is basically people getting away with murder, no pun intended, but also the fact that some people seem to like be over the rules, or they can seem to live above it.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. So I think we all agree on that. I mean, I think all three of us.
Yeah.
Because that bothers me too. I mean, if the glove does not fit, you must acquit. However, I think that karma comes back tenfold. And as you know, that particular person is in jail right now. God bless his soul.
Karma is a biatch.
It is, right? It is. And that's a problem, and that's the thing. And so let's talk about this. So you have these things that excite you, and you have these things that you're interested in. So how many times, though, do you find people to spend time with that actually those things interest them as well?
Actually, quite a bit. I mean, a lot of the people that I do hang out with, coast to coast, I mean, we do have some of the same interests, some of the same philosophies, but, it's just about expanding, about adjusting, and just kind of, I'm all about compromise.
What does that mean?
Basically, everybody's got their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own comments, but it's not that you have to bash them or, contest anything they say. You can agree, or you can, agree to disagree with them. But as you, just kind of go through life, it's just something new every day.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I mean, you have more of a laissez-faire attitude in the fact that, which is cool, and the fact that you're kind of just open to your experiences and meeting people, which is awesome. And I'm totally open to that too. I have that Gemini quality a little bit as well. But what about when it's something that you love? So let's talk about like the preservation of buildings, for example. You said that's something you really love, and that's something that you love to do, and that's something you're good at. What about if somebody was to say, I don't give a crap about that? I think that's awful. I don't care about old buildings. I think it's stupid. Yeah, okay, whatever, big skinny.
I would just say you can just look back at, like one of the buildings I worked in downtown LA. It was built in 1905. It used to be the central hub for the electric red car line that basically moved millions of people across Southern California to Northern California. The building was actually alive. I mean, you could feel the energy. You could feel the floors literally moving. Some say there are ghosts, some say there are not. But when you walk in that building, you just kind of have this aura of this building is amazing. And
let's talk about ghosts.
I was about to say I don't believe in them, but so what if I were to say to you know what, Skins, I don't care about some old building that nobody uses anymore. Let's talk about anything else but that.
Then we could talk about the old speakeasy, which is down below, built in 1908.
Still not interested.
Still not interested. Then I could tell you either to kick rocks or, we can just walk down the sidewalk and go to a little more modern contemporary building.
Yeah. So
So basically, you're cool with just skirting the issue, and I understand that. I think a lot of times, in order to be human, we have to be able to do that. I mean, whether you're playing golf or what you're doing. So I like what excites you. I like your depth. I mean, I think both you and Billy have a lot of depth. So let's talk about you quitting smoking. On our last show, we talked about how you were going to quit smoking and give it up, and so you have given up the actual cigarette itself, correct?
Yes, actually, today at noon Central Standard Time, I put down my final cigarette.
Saturday noontime, he put down a cigarette. Woo! Good job! Congratulations. Now, you are using an e-cigarette at this time.
Just temporarily, just to kind of curb the cravings, and but it's something I want to do for a while. But last week we had talked about making a bet. We never.
I was about to say, there's a bet going in here, isn't there?
Oh, and before the end of the show, you will know what he wins if he actually accomplishes this goal. Because I will come up with the reasoning behind the bet.
What's her name?
Ooh.
Oh.
But and that's what he said. No, we're going to talk more about that too, because I will have a payout here at the end. We talked about that. And I think it's important because I quit smoking years ago. I don't know how it is, and it was awesome. And at first, when I quit, I literally quit. I woke up one day and I said, I'm never going to smoke another cigarette again, and I didn't. And I didn't even get to have any last cigarettes or anything like that. And it was great. And I don't mind people smoking around me, and it doesn't bother me at all. And that's when you realize that you're quit for good, and that's honest. Because the first time I quit for 7 years, I wasn't quit for good. People could smoke around me, and I hated it. And when people would smoke around me at a restaurant, I'd be like, for the love of God, okay, can they find a space to go smoke on their own? Because they are infecting my breathing air.
For our younger listeners, this is back in the day when they actually allowed smoking in restaurants.
Yes.
They used to have a smoking section and a non-smoking section.
But even in certain areas, even in Addison, they allow you smoking in the restaurant still.
It just depends on if the owner wants to keep it as a smoking establishment.
Yeah.
And if it just smells so bad that you might as well keep it that way. When we come back, we're going to find out a little bit of how Billy Boy happened to be in a jail cell in Mexico. As well as we're going to pull some things together and really kind of zone in our exploration on the authentic ways that you can minimize the miscommunication in your life and to start living successfully with honest and perfect direction. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 660 The Answer.
You feel like making a statement?
Statement? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I guess you just want to make it hard on everybody. Well, let's see how you feel after some time in the tank. You all come.
All of us?
Just you.
What's the charge?
Pissing me off.
Is that a felony or a misdemeanor?
That's it.
Welcome back here live to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. How are you doing tonight? We've been exploring how to put an end to common daily misunderstandings in your life by finding peace and happiness, and by truly understanding your core self, and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people you spend the most time with. So right earlier, if you haven't missed it, we've been talking about being an observer. We've been talking about how you can deeply feel and think, and how you want to have people around you that feel the same way, that can talk, that can assimilate, they can observe and see things that you see, and you can talk with it and with rational human beings. We've also just been talking about how Bill defines himself, because Bill has certain things that interest him, that excite him, that angers him. We've been talking to Big Skinny about what excites him, what interests him, and what angers him as well. But I really want to talk about jail. So, Bill, you were talking about earlier about how you went to a Mexican jail.
Ashley, don't
and
make
let's
me
talk
do
about it
this.
real quick. Yeah, come on. We got to do that. Come on. It's right. It's the right thing to do because it feels right. Because it interests me and it excites me to hear what happened.
Mom, turn off the radio and go take a restroom break.
Mute.
Yeah, no joke.
Well, hello. I want to hear what happened.
Well, I'm going to disappoint you a little bit because I actually don't remember a lot of it.
That's about right. That's what he said.
But this is back when I was in college. I think I was 20. And
Crazy college kid.
Right,
20
and-
years old in Tijuana.
crazy in Juarez, actually.
Okay, in Juarez.
And
Same thing.
So
Not really. but
Well, I
kinda
mean,
not really, but
kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But
still Mexico.
so childhood friend of mine. We're in college, and we decide, okay, it's spring break. What are we going to do? Well, we decide to spend the week in El Paso and Juarez, which and I'm dating myself here, but this is at a time when you could actually do that.
Okay, there's some issues in the border towns right now. You got some issues. You got some cartel issues. The three families causing a lot of problems. Yada yada yada. The three cartel
you
families.
wouldn't want to do that now, but
You might not want to do that right now, but there will be a time when you can do it again.
yeah, and I hope so, because there
For
was a
all
time
our children.
when
I hope
Juarez
so.
was actually a very fun town. Tijuana too, but anyway,
I haven't
so
ever been. Though.
we're staying in El Paso, and we decided to go over the bridge one night, and we meet up with some other friends. And of course, they didn't have I think they technically have a drinking age down there. They just don't enforce it.
15.
Yeah, something like that. So we're drinking straight tequila, and
I heard that makes you go back sober, though. For most people,
it must have been a bad batch, because I think about an hour into it, I don't remember what happened.
He said, "Don't ask him on a straight tequila night."
I knew you were going to say that.
Remember that one song, "Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off"?
Yes.
Have you heard that one? That's a great song. It's a country western song. I don't remember who sings it, but it's cute.
Yeah,
Tequila makes her clothes fall off.
Yeah.
She dropped her contact in the sink. Anyway, so there you are. You don't remember much, okay? And you're in Juarez, not Tijuana. He's in Juarez. I've never been to both, so I don't know. But I do know they're both the Mexican border towns.
So I wake up the next morning, and bright light in my eyes, and I'm like, don't know where I am, and
disoriented, just shoveled.
and it smells bad, and I'm like, what in the blank is going on? And it takes me a while to kind of wake up, and I realize that I'm in a jail cell, and my buddy,
he's in the clink.
Our producer Billy Boy is in a jail cell,
and and my buddy Brandon,
whatever his name is. Whatever that guy's name is.
I was about to say, I don't know if I should say his name or not, but anyway, Brandon is on the. And by the way, they don't have bunk beds. Okay, they're like stone.
They're
bunks.
just like they're not even
attached to the
bunks.
wall,
They're just stone something.
No mattresses, no anything. I mean, they're just there. So
it's like Dallas County.
Yeah, no joke.
Concrete or dirt floors?
I don't remember.
I wanted to know. That's a good observation. We were observing your situation.
Don't remember, but anyway,
we care about the observations around you. Go ahead.
So at some point, I think one of the guards comes by, and he actually spoke a little English, and okay, you are arrested for public intoxication, and you need to pay $100 to get out of for bail to get out of jail. And Brandon and I look at each other like, oh no, because neither one of us have any money on us.
Oh my!
So
what happened? What did you end up doing?
I think we actually called another friend of ours.
They came up there and gave the money.
Who passed the hat around.
Oh,
right?
okay.
And came across the border, paid it for us, and because of course we told him, look, just do this for us and we'll pay you back. We'll call our parents and get some money back, and so that's what they did. They passed the hat around and came and bailed us out of jail.
Charity got them out of jail.
Now they just took the cash in hand and said, okay, don't
that's about right.
And
I'd rather take cash and check or charge.
We probably sped a little bit, but we got out of that town as fast as we could go. We didn't go back for the rest of the week. It was like, oh man.
Thanks for not cussing though in this segment.
And like I said, yeah, thanks. You're welcome. But and also too, we felt bad for like I said, it must have been a bad batch or something, because we were like sick for the rest of the week.
You shouldn't have eaten the worm.
Nope.
It'll get you every time.
Shouldn't have done that.
I haven't ever eaten a worm. Not any sort of worm.
But I tell you what,
not any kind of worm.
I think have rather have been back in the cell. When I called my mom to say, Mom, can you send me some money?
See, that's the thing is
my buddies had to bail me out of jail.
You got to do it the opposite way. And I agree with you. I mean, things happen. Bad things happen to good people. And, it would have been interesting. I wish we would have had some pictures from that so we could show our listeners.
I was going to say, this is pre-smartphone.
Pre-smartphone.
Pre-selfie.
Yeah, pre-selfie.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Pre-Facebook,
I would have loved to have some
pre-Instagram.
pictures of that saying, well, hello, Mr. Bill Barnett. How you doing?
I mean, it's one of those things that, okay, it's 20 years ago and I can laugh about it now.
And see, I could have laughed about it like an hour after. As long as I was out, I'd be like, yeah.
We were laughing about it once we got back up to school, but like I said, we weren't.
You were
feeling
talking
well.
about it to everybody, so you're like, oh, we just got arrested.
I was like, yeah, I got arrested this weekend. What'd you do?
I'm hardcore, dude. I'm hardcore. No, okay, so, Bill, I really appreciate you sharing that with us because I think a lot of our listeners have probably been there. We might not agree. We might not want to say that we have. However, I think a lot of listeners have been there. So, Big Skinny, I'm really happy about you quitting smoking because I think that also puts things in perspective. And if y'all are both talking like, for example, Bill, if you were talking to somebody that's never gotten in trouble, never been arrested for anything, it might be very hard for them to understand where you're coming from. It might be very hard for them to even get it, to understand, well, how did that happen? You must be a bad person for that to happen. But no, that's not true. Things happen. And I think a lot of people listening have been in a situation where maybe they've had a little too much to drink. Maybe they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And when you're able to talk to other people about that and say, hey, this is what happened to me, and other people go, hey, I understand, or I get you, or I'm glad you shared that with me, or hey, I've been there too, it makes the world a little smaller. It makes it more palatable, more easy to deal with. And I think that's important. So let's talk about smoking. Okay, I gave up smoking about, 3 years ago.
Good for you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
See, Skins, it can be done.
Oh.
It can be done. And I quit for 7 years the first time, and then I started smoking again, unbeknownst to me. Okay, so I started smoking again just because it was the easier thing to do. And when I started smoking again, I was kind of upset with myself. But the first time I quit smoking, I was really intolerable to other people smoking around me. And I get that. And the next thing you know, I was in LA. I was doing a lot of classes. I'm a therapist. I'm also a life coach, and I was actually having to fulfill some obligations in class structure. And I remember on the last morning, I woke up and I went, "I'm not gonna ever smoke again. I'm over this. I'm just not, and it's not the right thing to do because I never wanted to smoke again anyway. It wasn't one of my things. It wasn't my deal. And so when I gave it up, I never had another cigarette. I haven't had another cigarette. It's been over 3 years now." And the coolest thing about it was that I've lived up to that, and I have no problem with other people smoking around me. I can be around people smoking; it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, and it's great. And so here you are in studio with your e-cigarette, and I find this great because it's more tolerable, and two, I mean, you seem to be very, very, very good. You seem to be clear-headed.
It's not too bad. It's been several hours, half a day or whatever, but I'm just going to kind of, roll with it, just resist. I mean, I know I'm going to have to kind of like you be out with people that are smokers, and I'm just going to, I've got my mind on the prize. Hell.
My mind on my money, the money on my mind. So when we return, we're going to pull it all together, finish our exploration on authentic ways you can minimize the miscommunications in your life and start living successfully with honest direction. I'm also going to figure out what the bet's going to be with Skinny to keep him from not smoking. So stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
I could lift you up. I could show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here. Give us your perspective. We're listening. And you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Hey, welcome back to Perspectives Live here with your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we've been exploring how to put an end to the common daily mistakes and misunderstandings in your life by finding your peace and happiness, by truly understanding your core self, and by making healthy and rational choices when it comes to the people that you spend the most time with. Realizing that misunderstandings are brought on by ourselves always throws light on the issue that we either don't want to take credit for or we want to actually feel like the victim. Honestly, every misunderstanding comes to us by our unwise choosing to tell another how we feel or what we see without looking at the situation and seeing it honestly for what it truly is. You can analyze a person before you say anything and know if it's going to be understood or if it's not. You've done it before where you thought you wouldn't tell another person something, and you tell them and they're confused, they might laugh it off, they could get angry, they could get irritated, and the whole barrage of questions that starts. How did this happen? What happened? So there you are telling a story. I saw this woman, like, for example, she got her purse stolen at the corner of the street and all this stuff happened, and they're like, oh, really? What was her name? How did it happen? What was the corner? What street was it at? Were there cops there? Did you call them? What time of the day was it? Did you see it? Did she get her purse back? Did they catch the criminal? Did they arrest him? Were the cops there? Okay, too many questions. You wish you could always take it back, but you can't. So you want to choose the people you spend the most time with wisely. You want to have that with clear thought, clear knowledge. And that also eliminates the amount of misunderstandings that you have, because when you actually, create good relationships based on how you think, if you're an observer, are you a clear observer? Do you want to hang out with other clear observers? Do you think deeply? Is that something that's about you as well? And I think that's important. And we were talking about the situation in the restaurant earlier in the show about how the little girl was actually panhandling. And the one gentleman got very angry about it. The parents actually basically kind of pimping her out to this restaurant and putting their 5.5-year-old child in this situation, which is crazy. And he was talking to the other person about it that has no idea what was going on because they weren't paying attention. It's like, the parents should feel ashamed for themselves. But at some point, when you have that other person laughing and they don't even understand what you're talking about, it can be annoying. It can not only be annoying, but it can be hurtful. And so you really want to align yourself with thoughtful people. You want to align yourself with people that think the same, that resonate with how you are, that resonate with being observant, that resonate with the fact that you might be a deep thinker, that can understand and accept the thoughts that you have, accept your rationale, accept where you're coming from, because that's so important. Because the biggest thing in the human condition is to be loved, is to be accepted. And unfortunately, a lot of times we see our acceptance based on how other people treat us, not necessarily our inner depth, right? Because a lot of times it depends on how we feel about us, not about how other people feel about us. But we always determine our value by what other people think a lot of times, because that's how we were raised. When you come out of the womb, you want to impress, you want to do what's right by your family, by your parents. You want to show them up and say, hey, look, even when you get older and you go, Mom, look, no hands. You're on the bicycle and you're like, Mom, look, no hands. Look what I can do, Mom. Look, Mom, look. You're always trying to impress. You're always trying to make, somebody else look at you and say, wow, that's a good kid. That's a remarkable kid. That kid's got it together. Also you want to be deep. If you want to be deep, you want to find other people that are as deep as you. Because that's just so true. It's just quantitatively responsible. You can't ask for more. When people are deep, you can't ask them to be deep. You can't ask them to be what they are not. Okay? And the thing is that if you like to share your commentary and thought process, you need to find people that want to share and want to hear what you have to say. And you want to also be a good observer. You want to see things and share things. And if you want to share your love and share things, that's awesome. If you don't care to share, then don't worry about it. But if you do care to share, find people that want it to be shared with. Okay, Big Skinny, I've been thinking about this bet. And you know what? Honestly, I don't know what to do. I was thinking about courtside seats with the basketball team possibly, because I think that in order to really know that you've actually quit smoking, we need to go 6 months out. Because 6 months out, you know that somebody has quit. It's not because you had to quit for a surgery or something like that. Because, some people can quit for 12 weeks or 14 weeks at a time, and they can get right back in the game like nothing changed. So I think a 6-month non-smoking agreement is where we need to go to know that you, Big Skinny, quit smoking. I was thinking about the courtside seats. Not really sure. I think it'd be a really great idea, and I think Billy Boy brought it up here on break because we have been trying to figure it out. If you have a great idea for what I should bet Big Skinny on, if he can quit smoking or not, why don't you go on Facebook or tweet us right now and tell us, what do you think I should bet? Doesn't have to be monetary. We're not talking about financials, right?
Right. Yeah, we don't want this to be monetary.
It's still going to be monetary though, unless somebody wants to give us the ticket.
If you want to, give tickets as a gift, hey, we'll take them. But if you get a good idea about either something Skinny can do or Ashley can do for Skinny, or, somewhere that they can take the other one, or just whatever. I mean, what's your ideas?
Because it's a big deal about smoking, not smoking. And quitting smoking is a huge deal. I think anybody that's listening that is dealing and battling with the situation of trying to quit smoking, because that's a huge battle to take on. And if you've been smoking for a long time and using it as a crutch, as most people do, it's a crutch. It's an issue because a lot of times we use that as a stress reliever, even though it does kind of cause more stress. However, it is that way. But if you are using that as a stress reliever, you know for a fact that it's really hard to overcome. So, Big Skinny, what do you think?
I think 6 months will be the perfect motivation. I mean, whatever the bet is, I mean, it's, just going to help prolong my life.
Yeah, and provide you motivation, too.
It's going to develop my taste buds, since I'm a texture person.
He doesn't eat salad, by the way. I still don't get it. He eats no greens. This kid, no greens. Like steak and potatoes. My God, what the heck are we doing here?
He's a carny.
He's the total opposite.
It will accentuate my carnivorous tendencies.
So if our listeners, if they have a great idea for a bet, Ashley, you said Facebook or Twitter. So give us the Facebook.
Oh yeah, go to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on Facebook, or go to @Ashley Burgess on Twitter.
And how do we spell Burgess?
Well, I think everybody knows by now, I hope. Berges. And if you don't know, it's still going to direct you anyway, because I'm the only person on Burgess that you're going to find on Ashley Burgess. So you can go Berges, and we can have some sort of luck here trying to figure out how to give a good enough reason for Skinny to quit smoking. So last but not least, let's talk about this real quick. We've talked to Billy. We've talked to Skinny about what makes them tick, what excites them, what interests them, what angers them. And so if you think about that in your own life, right? What interests you? What makes you up? What excites you? Okay? What angers you? Those things make up you. And if you want to spend time with people that are like-minded and care about you and that you feel like you could actually be you, find people that think the same. At least to a degree. They don't have to be from the same country. They do not have to be the same color. They do not have to be the same age. They can be completely different. Your best friend could be from Zimbabwe. Okay? Your best friend could be from Uruguay. It doesn't matter. But those people feel they're either observant, they're not. They're very deep, or they're not. They feel, quantitatively responsible for things like, aliens. They think that there is paranormal. You have to find people that actually equate with what you believe in. Because it's hard to sit there and try to explain yourself all the time. Why do it when you can find people that actually love what you think?
Now, Ashley, maybe we should clarify. We're not saying that you shouldn't have conversations with somebody who holds a different point of view.
Yeah, not at all.
It's perfectly okay to debate an issue. kind of like we were doing during the
I was
break.
Actually 8th in the nation in debate.
There you go.
And I was not a master debater. However, I do feel that you're right. You want to find people with different connotations, different thought processes, because guess what? That makes you a smarter person, right? Because you're right, Bill. It makes you smarter. Just like if you're a woman hanging out with all these women, find some pretty women to hang out with, because guess what? It makes you prettier. Find smarter people to hang out with. If you're the smartest person in the room, quit doing that. Go find smart people to hang out with, because it'll actually
challenge
put
yourself.
It'll put you on point. It'll put you at the top of your game. It's just like hiring people. Hire people that are smarter than you.
It's basically what you're saying is try to hang out with people who have the same communication style. Like if you're a person who likes to have in-depth conversations, hang out with people who like to have in-depth conversations. Doesn't matter what their point of view is.
Exactly, and that makes you smarter. That makes you faster. That makes you stronger. Several songs that have been rated today. I think Daft Punk did one. Faster, stronger, better. The point is that you can be faster, you can be stronger, you can be better if you align yourself with people that are deep thinkers, that really, observe things. But they don't have to observe the exact same things. They can be deep on certain things that you're not. But they accentuate the fact that they allow you to be you. Because that's the case here. That's really the real thing. If you're a deep thinker and you want to share deep thoughts, you got to find people that accept your deep thoughts, right?
Right.
Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. And we'll have to do that later on. But anyway, Perspectives with Ashley Burgess is really glad that you actually tuned in tonight, as always. I hope that this helps you alleviate miscommunications in your life, and I hope that you begin to live more successfully and more with honest direction. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with Ashley Burgess will be back in 3 shakes.